Good evening, everyone. This is Doctor. I'm in indoors, hence I have removed my mask. Otherwise, wearing mask in public places is a must. Good evening to the 23rd episode of the Hospitality Show, live from Mega Classic Banquet Hall, Borivali. This show being has been witnessing many great personalities from the hospitality industry, and it is being viewed by more than 2 lakh people all over the world. In today's show, we have a very great gentleman who has been recently elected as the chairman of and a president of NRAI and is a professional hotelier too. The show is powered by Sammy Sosa, the Mexican restaurant at Andheri West, Belapur, and Malad. This is the 23rd episode, and whatever the questions you want to raise in this episode, you can post it in your comments where my number is scrolling down, and the answers will be given then and there. And if at all, you can even view our show on YouTube and Facebook for the next 1 week. To introduce today's guest of the evening, can I call upon Sana to do the honors, please? Sana, over to you.
Thank you. Good evening and namaste to all viewers. Welcome to the 23rd episode of our hospitality show. Well, first and most, I would like to thank you all for taking a time out from your heavy schedule, where we are host Dr. Ananth Vaidyanathan, a CEO of Touch of Class, in conversation with Mr. Kabir Suri, co-founder and director of Azur Hospitality, currently serve as the president of National Restaurant Association of India. Mr. Kabir has been associated with NRAI since 2017 and was appointed as a vice president in 2019. Pivotal in the growth and success of one of the fastest growing hospitality companies with the popular brands under its wings such as the Mama Gato, Dhaba 1986, Slay Granny, and the Foxtrot, to name a few. He has been a part of the industry for over a quarter of a century. Mr. Kabir believes that F&B industry is now at the cusp of a major change and he excited to be a part of this. He strives to lead the Indian F&B industry into a new era of prosperity, participation and positive perception which advance and safeguard the entrepreneurial spirit. So, ladies and gentlemen, with a huge round of applause, we welcome the chief guest of today's evening, Mr. Kabir Suri.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much, Sana. Thank you for the nice intro. Welcome. Good evening to the show, Chief.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
been a very nice honor and pleasure to have you. I hope this is the first show after you becoming the NRA president. You are coming for the first show in the hospitality series.
I am. Thank you.
Okay. It's a proud feeling for the entire team of the hospitality show, and it's our honor to have you here, and it's a great privilege as well. Mr. Kabir, we have heard a lot about you. In fact, I have been hearing about you since the time I visited Mamagoto in Bandra when I used to be the vice president of Salavi in Bandra. We loved your food. We have enjoyed your hospitality. You have made people amazed with your lovely food and your lovely hospitality. What your staff has given us. Now let me come to the show directly because we have less of a time and more of questions to ask for you. Let me ask you the first question is, how do you think, how much, as we are hoteliers, how much is fitness important to your hotelier?
Fitness is very important because hoteliers live a very stressful life. Our business is very consumer focused, very live all the time. It's not manufacturing where you switch on a plant and switch it off. We are dealing on a day-to-day basis, on a lunch, dinner, daytime, nighttime. So we're very constantly awake and engaged. So it's a very stressful job with great amount of expectation. So fitness is very, very important.
So how do you maintain your fitness? What do you do?
Good question. I think one tries to find time. I enjoy playing golf. So I used to play golf twice a week. Other than that, I try and do some breathing and some yoga, and try and do some 2 days in the gym. So that's what I'm doing. But obviously with the restrictions that were in place, the gyms were shut. So whatever work one could do at home in a closed environment, one would try to do.
Very nice, very nice. Now let me ask you an interesting question. How would you feel as a hotelier, and how did you enter this hospitality industry?
So I'm actually a banker. I started my career as
Oh,
a banker in New York. I moved from banking in New York. I moved to the UK and I did financial hedge. I worked in a hedge fund. While I was there, I got the opportunity to work in some world famous restaurants where I spent about 4 years training and worked myself up. I started off in the kitchen and cleaned dishes, did service, did everything from scratch up, and then got into business development and started traveling the world looking for locations for the brands. I moved back to in India in 2008, or yeah, 2008, and we started Mama Guru in 2010. The first one was in Delhi. So, I always had a calling. Once I had switched my career from banking into hospitality, then obviously I've been, in that field for that long and have been obviously, propelling myself and my growth accordingly.
so
So,
so you love this industry and you are now addicted to this industry, or you'll be passionate about this industry?
I am actually see, the thing is, we all work, but the question is, do you get up in the morning and you're excited about going to work? For me, I found that excitement in hospitality. That's why I switched careers. So for me, going to work is not work. It's more about passion. It's more about excitement. It's more about creating a difference. And I find that this career path that I've taken is something that makes me feel alive. I feel satisfied. I feel complete. So to me, it's many different things.
Yes. Passion drives you to many places. That's how it is. And I'm happy to hear you're also a man of like me who had taken passion of the industry. That is how it is. Now, recently, you added a feather to your cap by becoming the president of NRAI, which is one of the elite bodies in the whole of India. How is the feeling?
It's a feeling of responsibility and great pride. I think it is a huge responsibility that one has taken, and to be chosen to take this post in a way, it's I'm very grateful. I think, but with all responsibility comes a lot of work and comes a lot of sort of dedication. So I'm looking forward to my tenure. It's going to be a 2-year tenure. There's many things that one has to achieve. Obviously, we're coming out of the pandemic. We're coming out of a very troubled 18 months for our industry specifically. So we're still navigating through it. There's more to navigate through, from the loss of lives to the loss of jobs to the loss of restaurants closures, to the restarting of businesses to the survival of businesses. We're going through an evolution change, and I think it's important. My predecessor Anurag, who was leading an area before me, obviously set out to set out on a certain path during COVID, and one hopes that I will continue that and add to it as we go along.
So it's a lot of responsibility being bestowed in this kind of a pandemic. It requires really great guts to accept a post like this. And when you are in the mid of the pandemic, when the third wave is expected or whatnot, hats off to your great decision and you, where people trust bestowed on you, you will live up to the expectations. I am sure to that level.
Hopefully, thank you.
What are your plans and policies to take NRIA to the next level? If you can give me a.
So yeah. So our sort of agenda points going forward are a few. One is, with the paradigm shift in hospitality, where dine-in business has moved more into delivery. It's how to find sort of suitable working conditions with marketplace operators and aggregators to provide our members and our fellow restaurateurs sort of better working relationships with the aggregators. That's point one. Second is that we are one of the only industries in India where our GST input was removed,
Yes.
restaurant business specifically. So that is another agenda point on how to facilitate and get the interest, because we've been working on the input credit back, because it's a direct loss on the P&L, and obviously it's a big burden for restaurants from an operational standpoint. especially the ones that are paying high rentals in high sort of in metros. In addition, the non-input has created a cost of doing business has increased that. So any new capex is also got reduced because of that. So if we can solve for these two GST issues, it will create more growth, more opportunity, more revenue for the government, and more employment, which is very important. Third is obviously we will work on increasing our foundation and our sort of members. So we're looking at now further expanding into new cities and representing more people and restaurants, because there's an evolution change in tier threes, tier twos, tier ones. F&B in respect to restaurants are increasing. There are more and more people gotten into it. So it's important to align ourselves and them, to be a voice for them with the government, to be a voice for them as a shoulder for them to, to gain knowledge in whichever way, to support them. So we're working towards sort of empowering our base further. And lastly, I think it is more about creating various sort of opportunities for our members, may it be through providing job security in some form, may it be providing, we've done various different schemes. We've provided through our associate partners vaccinations for all our members and their staff. So NRAI has supported the staff working in all restaurants. We've tried to we ran this feed the needy program in COVID-1. So the idea is, can we create more further sustainable CSR programs where industry comes together to provide support to the needy in the form of either food or resources or infrastructure. So there's a few sort of agenda points that we are looking to sort of at least try and achieve this year, and then we'll set a new agenda for the year after.
Okay. Let me ask you a very critical question here. Now, this year onwards, this FSSI has started this food audit of the outlets which are there. And they also say that annual returns has to be given to restaurants. But when I found in the FSSI rules, it says that it is only for the, it is not for the restaurants or food joints. FSSI has to give their return. We have to give the returns to FSSI, not for restaurants, but only for dairy products. Is that right?
That's correct.
So we don't ask restaurateurs, we don't have to do the returns, but just we have to do the audit alone. That's right.
That's the audit. With them, it's the audit. That's correct. With FSSI, yes.
So this was the clarity which I was requiring, because we have many in the our clients have many outlets in airports where it is come to the central, where we are doing the food audits. That is absolutely proper. But there are some people who are doing FSSI returns, saying that they want this much of money from a restaurant, say 15,000, 20,000 per restaurant, 30,000 per restaurant, to give the annual returns. But when I found today, that is not mandatory at all.
That's not mandatory. No.
Wonderful. It's a great message you have given me. Now, your immediate predecessor, Mr. Anurag Khatriya, when he was in the show, one of the episodes where he highlighted many things are in store for NRAI. Now you are taking the legendary forward, and you are sure you will take it to the next level.
I hope so.
No. The persona you have and the charisma you have, I am sure we are all with you on this, and we will definitely be there with you, and we will definitely, because the show, when I posted your post in the hospitality group, everybody started saying, "Oh, this man is coming. You have to be prepared," and they started cautioning me rather. Asking, that's how it was, the whole scenario.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. In this pandemic, the hotel industry has suffered the most, and the aviation industry. Is there anything memento that a future? How can a memento be made for the future restaurateur to be healthier always?
I think COVID caught us all with our pants down, right? We were not prepared. COVID-1. Yeah. I think from COVID-1 we've learned in COVID-2, right? We've at least managed to pivot our businesses in some way. We made strategic changes. We made decisions. In many cases, certain people got out of the business. In some cases, people shut down businesses. In some cases, people reduced manpower. In some cases, people got into delivery, which they never did in the past. So there are many changes we've all, unfortunately or fortunately, have made, all for the better. all to be stronger, because if we ever have to face this scenario again, at least we have had the experience. Because COVID-1, none of us had the experience. No one had dealt with the pandemic. No one had dealt with unlocking the way it happened. But I think in COVID-2, we've learned what's important, how to deal with the situation, and I think we've learned how to get out of it faster. And I think that is why we're seeing such robust recoveries, as we are seeing in many states of India that have unlocked already. I can speak for Delhi NCR. I can speak for many other states. The unlocking that happened has created a great amount of demand for dining out and people going out, because there's some form of revenge consumption, revenge eating out, revenge socializing that is happening. But again, I would urge consumers and members of the NRAI and your platform, we have to be optimistically cautious. We must remain cautious, because we have to be safe, we have to be cautious, we have to be responsible. We have to take all the we have to follow all the protocols the government has asked us to do, and whatever the systems that need to be placed, and we have to respect that, because ultimately we have to be responsible for tomorrow, right? And if we ourselves are not responsible, then we cannot blame someone else. So I think it's important, as a citizen of this country, as a worker of this country, and as a member of this society, I think we must all be responsible.
Wonderful. Exactly. If we are responsible, then we can make people also responsible for it. That is how
Correct.
it goes across. So, can the viewers know how does NRAI work, and what is the portfolio as a president you have?
So the way NRAI works is that we have broken up the 9 cities of India, which are mainly the metros currently. We've appointed NRAI chapter heads, which are basically city heads. Each city has a team of 4 or 5 office bearers of those cities. And then after that, we have something called the management committee, which comprises of the chapter heads of each city, along with specific personalities or restaurateurs that are operational within India, that basically create the body. And from this body, then you have something called the office bearers, which is basically comprising of the president, the vice president, the secretariat, and the secretary. So these are the 5 sort of categories of the office bearers that are responsible to run the operations in regard to what is supposed to be done. We also have a set of trustees, which comprise of retired or personnel that have served their terms as presidents of the past, such as Riaz Amlani, Rahul Singh, now Anurag Kataria. So they form the mentorship body. So they are there as our sort of backbone, our support system wherever required. So my work specifically is fundamentally, along with my vice president, which is Sagar, and Prateek. Our role is fundamentally to create structure, to provide a working relationship with all the various cities, to solve problems of those cities in whichever way we can. And more so for us on a national level, it's more to engage with the government. It's more to engage on policies, unlocking policies, GST policy, sort of labor policy. So it's more to do with how to deal with the government, how to be the sounding board of the government, how to debate decisions that the government might be wanting to take for our industry, specifically restaurants, how to engage in that and try and sort of find middle ground wherever required. So I think that is more so our responsibility from the government. And then it's to do with partners and associates, such as, the likes of your Zomato, Swiggy, which are marketplaces, other members that are part of the ecosystem, how to find balance between everyone. So that, I think that is the overall sort of macro scheme of what is our responsibility. And then we have obviously specific responsibilities divided city-wise and then centralized.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, are we in particular in Maharashtra? I think Delhi government waived off some excise fees for the pandemic years. But here in Maharashtra, we got only last year some relief. This year we have paid the entire fees, and we paid the fees on March 31st. April 1st was the lockdown, and we were allowed to operate only up to 4. And I think our association in Ahar, which I think Mumbai, has already filed a case with the Supreme Court to reduce the fees. Is
That's
that
correct.
anything
And
NRI also do?
the outcome has already come out. It was in, I think it was in the High Court of in Bombay, and I think the court has said to pay 50%. I haven't. I need to just update myself on the order, but I have a copy of the order. I just need to check it again. But I think they've said they have given, the court has given relief.
If you have some orders, if you can pass it on to me, that will be nice. Or I would like
I
to
will send.
circulate the
I will
details.
send it to you, sir. I will send
Yeah,
it to you.
thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You are a busy hotelier with a busy brand, and one being the most favorite of all, Mama Goto. Where did this title come from?
So Mamagoro actually means to play with food in Japanese. My
Okay.
partner Rahul and myself, when we were founding the brand, in 2010, we were actually we spent a lot of R&D time and a lot of time playing with flavors, mixing different products, trying to see what the right balance is. So in that journey of ours, while we were working on the food, we also worked on the branding with our designers. And it just so happened that we wanted a name that was catchy, the name that was fun. And we came up with this name, and then we didn't realize that Mamagoto in Japanese means to play with food.
Oh,
Then we kept the name, and we've obviously had the name since we started.
wonderful. Now, how many branches all around India we have, Mama Goto?
So we have a total of 60 restaurants across India. Mamagoto is about 20 in 13 different states. Our Indian brand Dhaba is also, we have about 21 in 13 states. And we are also have other multiple brands which are less in count, but in totality we have about 60 restaurants with a mix of cloud kitchens as well.
These are all COFOs or FOCOs?
These are all company, so it's a mix. So out of the 60, 40 are company owned and 20 are FOCOs, franchise owned, company operated.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So regarding when the pandemic happened, you also diverted into cloud kitchens, right?
That's correct. So we pivoted our businesses in post the first and second quarter of Q1 and Q2 of COVID-1. We then pivoted and got into cloud kitchens, and delivery now for us contribute 40% of our revenue.
Oh, to aggregators only or direct deliveries?
Both.
Achha,
So
both put together.
60% is through aggregators, 40 is direct.
Okay, okay. Very nice, very nice. I want the viewers to know about your family, your siblings, your background, your schools, your college days, your dating days, and whatnot. You are so smart looking. I think you were very naughty when you were younger. Also, you are still young, but I think in your teenagers, many must have been having crush on you.
So I went to school here in India. I was in a school called Doon School in Dehradun. And then from there I graduated and went overseas to do college in the US. After I graduated in college, I moved to New York City, Manhattan. I worked as a banker, like I said. After that, I worked there for about 5 years. And then post that, I moved to the UK, worked there for 5 years. And then I've moved back to India in 2008. I've been here since then. Family-wise, I have 2 beautiful children and a beautiful wife.
How many siblings are you?
We are 3 in total. So 1 brother, 1 sister.
They are all in the same business?
No. They all do their. My brother's in sort of renewable energy, and he lives outside India. And my sister is in the education field.
So you alone are a hotelier?
That's correct.
So you started your this thing because you were cooking. That is where you started?
It was just a passion. I just enjoy being with people. I enjoyed engaging with people. I like the sort of opportunity to serve. I just had that inclination to be in an industry which you are engaging with people, and I just felt hospitality since a young age. I enjoyed. When I was in college in the US, since that time I used to enjoy it. I always, the hospitality business looks very glamorous from the outside. It looks very, what's the right word? Very sexy from the outside, but it's a very tough business. It's a lot of hard work. Anyone new trying to get into it, I would, ask them to be very cautious and very careful. Think it all very through. What the real reasons are, for them wanting to get into it, because it's a very, very tough business. It's very time consuming. It's very unforgiving because you're dealing with consumers on a day-to-day basis, in the minute, in the moment, and you have to be very clear on what your product is, what the price is, why you're entering that market, what is the there's a science behind it, and not that we get it all the time correct. There are many restaurants we've all shut down for wrong location or wrong timing or whatever it might be, but we learn from our mistakes, and I think we all have made mistakes as we go in life. That's the journey we all have to have, and that's the journey we all need to grow from. So just a word of advice is that anyone looking to get into this business must be cautious, must be clear with the intentions, and anyone in this business, I don't need to say much to you. We've had a very interesting last 18 months, and hopefully everyone is getting stronger and getting out of, hopefully is turning the curve.
True, true. So if I can ask you, how good are you in the kitchen?
I'm not very good, honestly. I'm not a chef. I enjoy food. I'm very good at telling flavors. I'm very good at, I don't want to say food tasting, but I'm very good at telling where the gap is, in the sense that if something is not balanced, something is not working together as flavors, something is not working together as ingredients, that I'm very good at. But if you ask me to cook a dish, I'm very limited. I'm not a trained chef, but I'm a passionate eater.
Nice way of putting it across. Very nice. So in house, does Mr. Suri cook or the wife cooks?
We both cook. There's certain things I enjoy cooking, and there's certain dishes she enjoys cooking. And we're fortunate, being in the restaurant business, we have access to people that can help at home to cook as well. So we try and enjoy that as much as we can.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So you often travel, or you come to Mumbai, or how is that your operational?
I used to come all the time before COVID. The last couple of months we've been restricted with our traveling, obviously. But in the past, one was there once a month, minimum.
Okay. So you travel to all the places wherever your restaurants are.
I try to. I can't be everywhere, but between my partner, and we have a very large team that we've built up gradually. Obviously one cannot be in every location. So we've built up a very senior sort of operational team. We have an executive chef, we have, brand chefs, brand heads, brand managers. So along with the team, we sort of structure movement. We make certain sort of spot check sort of movements as well. Unannounced travel as well, and then we go planned as well. So there's a mix of everything. And when we're opening new restaurants, one tries to obviously look at the restaurant space, even though the team might have finalized it, if there's any sort of last minute sort of questions to be asked or checked on. Other than that, I think during COVID we've learned to live without movement. We've been operational with restricted movement, as we all know. So we've used that to our benefit to reduce costs in regard to too much travel. But I think in our business, you have to be constantly engaging with the team and the people and your consumers. It's very important to listen to your customer. Information you can get from your team members is great, but sometimes it's nice to listen directly as well, because there's certain things that you can pick up on which someone else might not. So you have to, ultimately the consumer is the king. Any consumer is basically is without them you can't succeed. So it's very important to keep your ear on the ground at all times.
Wonderful. We have finished 30 minutes. How it went, I do not know. But we would like to take a small commercial break and we'll be back in 2 minutes. Pradeep ji, over to you for the commercial break.
That's good.
Thank you. This was Sammy Sosa who was powering this hospitality show of the 23rd episode. Thanks for coming back, Mr. Suri. Now we go to something interesting. How much do you believe in sustainable and consistency ratio in this business?
I think it's the most important thing is that your product and your food remains consistent. I think you can keep creating brands, you can keep spending X amount of money to create that first experience or the second experience. But I think what's important is that you're able to keep the systems and your food quality consistent, because without that, at some point you will have a problem. More so in the start, and then the rate of failure is greater. So I think sustainable. I mean, for us specifically, we made sure we try. I think most restaurateurs that have multiple units always work on how to create the consistency value. How do you simplify it? How do you create more process-driven restaurant operations than people personality-driven? It's important when you're doing a scalable business. See, if you're opening one restaurant, then you have a head chef, you have a GM, it's fine. The guys, the team is there. But when you have multiple locations across different cities or in the same state, same city, the processes are very important. So I think processes are very important for consistency, and second is, so to answer your question, I think, to be successful in the F&B space, you have to be consistent with your product.
Very good. And that is what matters in this business now. Without consistency, nothing happens in this business.
Yes.
Now, tell me, does your wife also is in the same industry, the hospitality industry? She helps you on your
No, my
business?
my my wife is not in the same industry. My wife used to be in the fashion industry. She's a fashion stylist,
Okay.
so she used to be in the fashion industry, in the styling industry. She's currently not pursuing that, but
Okay.
that's what she used to do.
Okay. Okay. How strong is your SOPs in place for retaining the existing customers as well as bringing in the new ones?
Sorry, could you repeat that? How strong is my SOP for? Could you repeat that, please?
For retaining the existing customers as well as the bringing in the new ones?
So I think to keep your customers, if your product is consistency, when I say product I mean food is consistent, when I say product I mean service is consistent, when I say product I mean experience is consistent, then the customer will always come back. That's a customer likes to try new things, so they will always go to try something new. But ultimately, if your product is always consistent, every time they come, they will come back to you, because then they become a loyal consumer. They become fans of the brand. So that's very important. In regard to getting new customers, obviously, one is that customers follow customers. So when you have a
Yes.
restaurant that's successful, if you have a brand that's successful, if you have a space that's successful, any new customer, word of mouth, any new customer will see it visually, any new customer will hear about it. So automatically, that's one way of obviously increasing new customer base. In addition to that, then you've got different channels, through online channels, through sort of marketing in sort of social media or other channels. But ultimately, see, you can get new customers in once, you can get them in the second time, but the third time they're not going to come back if the product is not consistent or the food quality is not consistent. So it's very important, no matter how beautiful you make your space, or no matter how many gizmos you have in it, or how different you try to make it, what's most important is food quality and consistency.
What is that one signature dish of Momogodo which people love to have?
I think it's our train station noodles, which is basically a Indonesian. It's like a cow soy. It's a meal in a bowl. It's a meal in a bowl with the curry and the noodles, and they have different toppings on it. So I think that, to me, it has been on our menu for the last 10 years, and it hasn't come off. The reason it hasn't come off is it's one of our top selling items for the
Okay.
last 11 years,
I have
amongst
tried
many
that. I have-
amongst many other obviously items. But I'm just giving you one example.
No, we have also loved it. Every now and then we used to come and have the causeway only. That was our meal after so many times. We don't get tired of having your causeway, which is being so very, very made. That's how it is. Can you tell me about your other brands like Daba 1986 and the other brands you are
Yeah.
holding?
So Daba, is not a new brand. Daba's been around since 1986. We acquired Daba from the Claridge's Hotel in Delhi about 5 years ago.
Okay.
There were 3 restaurants when we acquired them, and now we've obviously scaled them up to 20.
Oh,
And we basically, it's Indian, North Indian, Punjabi food. Serving the traditional North Indian food in a fun environment, in a loud, colorful environment. Reminds you of a dhaba's sort of look and feel. And so that's what Dhaba is. It's an Indian brand. I think we could open 400 of them across India. Everywhere you could open one. So it's something that you can scale very quickly and very systematically. Other than Dhaba, then we have another European brand called Sly Granny. It's 3 restaurants currently, and we're opening 2 more in Goa very soon.
okay.
That is basically it's a European food with beverage playing a part. So in the case of Mamagur and Dhaba, food is 80% of the revenue, 10% is soft beverage, and 10% is alcohol. Whereas in a Sly Granny, 60% is food and 40% is beverage. So the ratios are change a little bit, and the price per customer in the Sly Granny is a little higher. So it's about 1,200 rupees per person, whereas a Mamagur is 850 So there's a price difference because of the sort of ingredients. Being continental food, you have your sort of ingredients are different. You know, your cocktails are different. It's more alcohol driven to whatever extent. So your cost metrics are different. So these are the three main brands that we operate across India, and then we obviously have these in different formats. You have brick and mortar stores, and then you have the cloud kitchens as well.
Okay, this Daba 90 or any apart from Mama Goto, any other brands are there in Mumbai?
No, currently we only have Mama Goto, and we're now going to be entering Mumbai with the other two brands. I think we'll enter Mumbai with the other two brands probably in the next financial year. But in the current financial year, we're going to be expanding Mama Goto further in Mumbai.
Okay, okay, wonderful. We look forward to. We look forward to.
Thank you.
So in this pandemic, the cloud kitchens have dressed up very nicely, and have been enjoying a good amount of business all around. Do you feel if we have multiple brands, then only the cloud kitchen can be a hit with one brand, with the rate of what do you call rentals, the manpower, everything? With one brand, can a cloud kitchen be successful?
So it depends. I think the question to ask is what is the price per customer? What is the AOV? What is the APT as they call it, right? So if your APT is low, then you need multiple brands. If your APT is high, then you can do it with one. In our case, our cloud kitchen our Mama Goto kitchen is 1200 rupee APT, which basically means average price per transaction is 1200, which basically means every transaction is minimum two people, so it's 600 bucks a person. So when I transacted 1200 rupee APT, a single brand works. But when you're transacting a 300 rupee APT, then a single brand doesn't work. So it depends. So hence you have to have multiple brands because each single brand will add X revenue. So in order to make sort of break even, you need to know what your fixed costs are. So it's you have to look at it based on what your fixed costs are. You have multiple brands, smaller if they're smaller APT, average price per transaction brands, and obviously you need to have multiple brands. If you have a higher AOV brand, then you can be okay with one brand or even two. It could be fine, and you'll make money because you have fixed costs, you've got commissions, you've got rent, you've got labor, you've got food costs, you've got packaging, you've got all the variable costs as well.
Okay. Now tell me, what are your passions and how religiously you follow them? One is your golf, you said. Other things, being a hotelier, being so dedicated hotelier, having no time for family. Now NRA is another responsibility on your shoulders. How passionate about you are with your other passions? How dedicated you follow them?
It's a good question. I was asking myself this 2 days ago. Actually, we keep saying we don't have time. It's how you design your day. You have to make time. And I think we as human beings always say we don't have time. We're so busy. We're so that. It's how you sort of structure yourself. And I'm trying to do that for myself. I like everyone else say I don't have time. I really don't have time. But the question is how disciplined can I be with time? So I think the art of being disciplined with your own time is where one is now mentally working through that process. Because if you look at the calendar, I don't have time. But if you plan the calendar correctly, then you can make time. So to answer your questions, currently I'm still in that dilemma. I don't have time, but I'm trying to stop that and fix it so I can make time. I hope you're understanding what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But what are your hobbies like otherwise, apart from golf?
My hobbies are, like I said, I enjoy playing golf. I don't get much of time to play it, but I really enjoy that. And my other hobbies are to spend time with family. I don't get enough, like you said, I don't get enough time to spend with my family because of travel, because of time constraints. So, I've looked at this pandemic as a great opportunity to have spent time with family that one doesn't get normally. I have two young children. The time with my wife and my children, I think is a blessing, even though, the 18 months has been tough on all of us. But I think if you look at the brighter side of it, look at the amount of time you managed to spend with family. I think that in a way is a blessing.
So in the pandemic, what was your business model and how did you retain the staff and how did you get that into the movement?
In the business model, the COVID-1, the first 6 months was very troublesome. Most of the staff, because we were shut, most of the staff had gone home. A lot of staff had gone home actually because everyone was scared. No one knew what was going on. And, most of our locations were shut. We barely had any business happening. We were, not operational in many cities and states. Because delivery was not a very big quotient of our business in any ways. And I think we all were in shock. I don't think we were prepared. And I think as a result of that, COVID-1, the first 6 months was very difficult. But, how did we deal with it? We gradually then, brought certain people back. We had to restructure the menus. We had to bring the SKUs down. We had to get passes made. We had to get staff back. We had to sort of, get packaging prepared. We had to engage with the aggregators, get ourselves listed. So there was a lot of work that went in. And then Q3 happened, things started opening up, and business suddenly came back very quickly for us. And Q4 again was very quickly we came back. This year, for example, COVID-2, because of our learnings in COVID-1, we were much more prepared in regard to, what to do, how to do it, staffing. So we supported the staff as much as we could. We provided, even though we had zero revenue coming in for the first 6 months of COVID-1, we still supported them as much as we could. We had to work as a family to whatever extent. We had to forego salaries, we had to reduce salaries, we had to sort of speak with landlords and try and reduce their costs or make them zero for many months. So there's a lot of back and forth. It was survival. It was survival for everyone. Not only us, it was survival for everyone, how to deal with it. And at the same time, to give a color of humanity, you had to be, you could not be just, a crude business person. You had to also have some humanity in what you do. So, we provided rations for our staff. Whatever we could do, we did. We provided support, emotional, mental, in every way, whatever we could, we did.
So that's a great to see that, because many of the hoteliers have retained their staff, many have sent them back home. But happy to note that you have retained them and you have let them in many ways possible, whatever you could do.
Yeah,
Now,
we've retained them. We sent some back home, and as the business opened up, we brought them back. But while they were at home, they were getting still some salary. We were supporting them, and then as soon as businesses opened, then they came back, and then we restarted everything.
Okay. Now tell me one restaurant in which you would love with your family, apart from Mama Ota and apart from your parents, in Mumbai. Which one restaurant you would love to dine?
I actually enjoy Bombay Canteen.
Oh, okay.
And
Anything apart from that?
I also enjoy, Indigo. I enjoy. There are many restaurants. I think the table is lovely. The Bombay has many restaurants. There's Slink and Bardo. That's great. There's many different restaurants and different cuisine. Depends on what you're in the mood for. But there's sort of marquee restaurants that have been around for a long time. There's new restaurants. There's restaurants that belong to friends that are also very good. So it depends on what you're in the mood for.
So as an individual personality, which cuisine you like the most?
I particularly, because we eat out so much, I enjoy my ghar ka khana.
That at the end of the day, yes, for everyone.
No, I enjoy Japanese food. I enjoy. I have a specific liking for sort of Japanese and Asian food.
Okay, wonderful. Now you tell me, what is the future of our industry going to be? What is your advice? One advice you would like to give to the entrepreneurs who are coming up in the business? You said they have to be cautious, which I heard it out. But still, what are the tips you would want to give to them? Because as an NRI president and as a joint MD of your own brands, what is that one advice you would love to? Because so many restaurants are newly opening up also. So what is that one thing which you would like to tell them?
I think everyone needs to learn to test their business model, and we never made a projection or a balance sheet or a projection assuming zero revenue, right? COVID-1 taught us that we can also become zero, right? So I think what we need to learn to be sort of to survive any new shock. I think we've had many shocks in the last 18 months, but to survive these shocks, we have to constantly test our business model to see what would happen if this happens, what would happen if that happens. So technically, can you build a business model where your fixed costs are as low as possible so that you can sustain the business even with shocks? That's very important. You have to also look at businesses where you're not dependent on one revenue stream. Can your business have multiple revenue streams? What does that mean? Can it be brick and mortar? Can it be delivery? Can it be other forms of delivery? Can you have different elements in it? Can you provide home catering of the same food? Are you able? So basically, the question is, the customer can't come to you. Can you go to the customer in different ways? That's what you have to solve for, right? Because if you're a brick and mortar restaurant, the customer comes to you, and that stops for whatever reason, whatever the problems are in life or restrictions are there. Can you get to that customer? And is your product strong enough, balanced enough, packaged well? Can it get to the consumer where the consumer would pay for it and want it? So I think that is something that we need to solve for any new restaurant or any existing restaurant. What do we need to do to reformat ourselves so that we are available other than just in dining? I think that's one big learning. Second is, I think the other thing that we've learned, at least I've learned personally, is that in India we assume that we need X amount of people in the kitchen. We assume we need X amount of people in service. But if you compare that to the Western world, they work with less people within the same sort of volume of sort of revenue streams. So it's important for us to be efficient. I think we, because labor in general is cheaper in respect to rent. We feel excessive labor is something that is the need, that we always need to have extra people. I think COVID has taught us again how to be efficient with how to be more efficient. So I think we have to find elements of how to find efficiency in everything we do in regard to the operating business. And I think what's also important is that, like I said, so it's to find multiple revenue streams of your business and how to find efficiency in your business without disrupting the consistency and quality of your product.
Wonderfully said. Wonderfully said. This is so very true what you said. Any plans of opening up apart from India? Any plans of opening up outside India?
So we've actually opened a restaurant in London, in central London, in June of this year.
Oh.
It was ready prior to COVID-1, but unfortunately, because of the lockdowns, we were not able to open. And we've just opened in the UK, in central London. It's a restaurant called Pali Hill. It's an Indian small plate.
Excuse me, what is the restaurant called as, sir? Sorry?
It's called Pali, P-A-L-I, Pali Hill. Pali Hill from Bombay, Pali Hill.
Okay.
Pali Hill. It's Indian regional plates. Why the name? I don't know. I just like the name Pali Hill, so we called it Pali Hill. It's basically regional plates, Indian regional plates, different regions, very focused on ingredients, very focused on produce. It's located in, so that's been a great sort of a new sort of venture of ours that has happened. It's happened in COVID. It's happened in a new country. I could not be there for the opening myself, so it's been remote controlly open. But God's been kind. We've opened successfully. We have a strong sort of team there, so we've managed to be successful with the launch.
Wow, that is wonderful. It's a news to us. Rather, many of the viewers will not be knowing that Pali Hill is gone to UK as well, because we know the Pali Hill, which is nearby to the Bandra. That's how we have come across.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So, as a what do you call it? As a president of NRI and as a future of Delhi, where do we see Mr. Kabir Suri in the year 2023?
That's a tricky question. Hopefully, back on your show. Otherwise, hopefully, healthy and led the industry in the right direction. Personally, I see myself. If you ask me personally, where do I see myself? I think, I remain committed in what I'm doing. I remain committed in growing my business. I remain committed in further working with the industry. So you will see me very much still here in India. However, I think our business will have grown by then, further domestically and internationally, and our focus remains F&B. And I remain committed to this sort of path that I've chosen. So I see myself further growing within what I'm doing.
Wonderful, wonderful having you on the show, sir. And it is a great pleasure and privilege for us to have you. And we have shown some highlights which are very much required for our industry to know, like the excise which you told about, and the other certain food audits and food returns, everything you brought out are great eye openers for our industry. And we wish you all the success in the new epitome of existing post which you have taken. And we are all here with you, and we are at a make and call anytime you want. We are at your service, and we'll be there for you anytime, anywhere. And do call us when you are in Mumbai. I would like to meet you personally and wish you all the success in the new post which you have taken.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank
much.
you very much. Thank you.
I request you to be remaining the screen for 2 more minutes. But
Yeah.
officially, thank you. Can Sana come and do the honors?
Thank you. As we draw close to the 23rd episode of the Hospitality Show, we'd like to thank you, Mr. Pradeep Jordani, a technical head of the show, Dr. Ananth Vaidyanathan, the creator and the visionary of this wonderful event, and Mr. Kabir Suri, our honorary chief guest, for making this show super successful with their presence. And last but not least, I want to thank you all our wonderful online viewers who has contributed equally by being a part of this event. So, ladies and gentlemen, till our next episode, signing off from the Hospitality Show, I'm Sana, and good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much, Kabir sir, and welcome for the show. And I'm sure there will be many viewers who will be watching. And I wish you all the success once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. This was the 23rd episode of the Hospitality Show, powered by Sammy Sosa, Andheri West, Malad, and Belapur. And this show can be viewed live or can be viewed in the Facebook and the YouTube page for the next 1 week. And we have got many viewers who are not seeing online, but we see many people seeing it in the night time and enjoying and posting their comments. And I wish most of the people who are liking our show, and it's a good comments we are getting for the show. And this is pandemic time. The pandemic is still not ended. Wear your mask, keep social distancing, take care of your loving ones, take care of your elders, take care of your kids. And the next episode, that is the 24th episode, we have a young, dynamic, a multi-talent, multifaceted Mr. Mox from Living Liquid, the managing director of Living Liquids, who will be there in our show in the next week. That is on the 5th of October. And we look forward to welcome Mr. Mox, who is also a great entrepreneur and is a great eye-opener in this industry. And he is now onto big-time tasting launches in many of the airports. With this, we draw close to this 23rd episode of this Hospitality Show, and we look forward for the next episode. Until then, signing off from Mega Classic Banquet Hall, Borivali, this is Dr. Ananth Vaidyanathan. Love you all. Bye-bye.